This is Jeff Scott Soto from Sons of Apollo, and you are listening to Sonic Perspectives. Turn it up, baby.
Free me from this place I'm in. Mother, wash away my sins. 'Cause I am alive.
Hello.
Hello, Jeff.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff. It's Rodrigo. I'm calling on behalf of the Sonic Perspective.
Hey, how you doing, man? Sorry.
Good,
I
good.
was running around the house. I heard the phone ringing, but I completely forgot about the time zone difference.
That's okay. That's okay. So you ready for a little chat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, cool. So I saw the tour dates of the Sons of Apollo, which is coming up. It's a grueling schedule. So I wanted to ask you, how are the preparations for the tour? What do you usually do to take care of your voice when you have such a grueling tour coming up?
Well, I'm gonna do like 3 Hail Marys and 4 Lord's prayers and hope I get through it. it's actually something I'm still battling with management because they most people in business they want the band to go out, and of course everybody wants to see as many shows, as many gigs as you can squeeze into the year, but everybody forgets that the human voice is very delicate and fragile. And I've told them numerous times, guys, I'm not 25 years old. And even when I was 25 years old, I didn't sing 4 nights in a row. So it's going to be difficult. And I've done it before. Unfortunately, it just means no fun for me. It means I sing and I shut up for the rest of the day and I go to sleep early and I don't drink and I don't talk. And it's going to be a very boring tour for me. So, but to me, it's more important that, the people who are working their asses off to pay for those tickets to come and see us, I have to deliver. So to me, they come first.
Yeah, of course. And just going back to when the band was formed, apparently the invitation for you to join the band came after Mike Portnoy saw you every night on the tour with the One-Ear Dog that you did with your band Soto. I actually saw that tour in Rio, and but did you sense back then that something was brewing, and or was it a total surprise for you when you got the call to join the band?
Absolutely no. I didn't expect anything to come from it. I thought Mike was just watching because he loved when we did the Yngwie medley part of the night, and also when we did Stand Up and Shout from the Rockstar movie. So I figured he was just watching on the side because he was waiting for that part of the show. I didn't realize he was watching the show because he was gathering information, so to speak.
Yeah.
It certainly was a surprise in the fact that I didn't realize he was looking at me for that reason. And when he did call me to be part of this, I said yes before I even heard one note. I didn't even need to hear one song. They could tell me all I'm doing is burping the entire time. And I just wanted to be a part of it because I've been wanting to do a record with Mike and a record with Billy for so many years, and to actually be on the same record with those two guys, I said yes before they even played me one song.
Oh, cool. And the funny thing about supergroups is that more often than not, it's like dominant personalities joining the band, so a lot of crashes tend to occur. But in your case, I mean, you guys seem to be getting along quite well, right?
Absolutely. The thing is, we went into this. Every band needs a leader. Every band needs somebody to kind of lead the charge, so to speak. And of course, this band has 5 leaders. This band has 5 people who are more than willing and adequate and able to do this. But then that's where usually it becomes chaos, and it's better to have one designated person that's doing that. And Mike stepped up to this decision before even I was involved. He told Derek, he's doing so many different things that he really loves to do, but he doesn't want another situation in his life where he has to have 5 or 6 people coming in with their opinions and saying, I want to do this song. No, let's do that song. That's usually what kills a band. That's where all the fights begin and the egos start driving.
Yeah.
So he told us very early on, listen, guys, I'm going to be the captain of this ship. Everybody follow my lead. It'll be so much easier. Trust me. I know what I'm doing for this band and for you individually. I know what I'm doing. And if you just trust me, you're going to see the results. And so this is what we all did. We said, Mike, take the wheel and steer the ship. And we're just going to follow you and you take us into the promised land. And that's exactly what he's doing. So far it's working great because, again, everybody's so busy with other things and they've come from other things. They don't have to think about Sons of Apollo. The map is made out for us. We basically say, we read everything, or we're told everything. This is how we're going to do it and what we're going to do, and it's great. And as long as we don't disagree, of course. But it's everything's being done so far in a way that we all agree, and it seems to be working really well for this band.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed as well is, Mike also puts together some amazing set lists, of course, and he has an extensive list of covers he wants to do regardless of the band. But when I looked at and saw that you guys were covering Queen and Van Halen, I said, there's no way that Jeff has no input on this. So did you influence that somehow, or?
I absolutely did not have any input, but because Mike is very resourceful, he does his homework, he does his research. He's seen me do many Queen songs, from my tribute involvements to the Queen DVD that I did at the Queen convention many years ago. He's seen so many different things for all of us, of what we've all done and what we're capable of doing. And this is how he built the set list. He knows everybody in the band have a huge DNA of Van Halen in them. Mm-hmm. So that was a given, that we were going to do some Van Halen just for fun. It's not even just to fill in the set, because we can fill in the set with solos and other things, that instrumentals and things. But the Van Halen part is just something loose and fun, and even gives us a chance to kind of let it all hang out without being too worried about how difficult it is to play.
Yeah.
The Queen thing, again, this was Mike's idea. The song "Save Me," he wanted us to do the entire song, but it was my idea to just do an acoustic version of it, and then to end it after the second chorus and going into the song "Alive," because it just happens to have the same lyric. It's "Save Me," and then in the song "Save Me," I use that line in the chorus of "Alive, Save Me from this life I'm sorry. I can't even think of the lyrics right now, but the lyrics "Save Me" are in the words to "Alive," and I incorporated the two songs together, and it almost worked like I came up with the idea, which it actually came from Mike. So the thing I do before that, from the Prophet song, I've always wanted to do that. I learned how to do that little sequence when I was about 13 years old with 2 tape recorders, and I was able to emulate having a delay. And I said, someday I want to do this live, but I have to have the right delay in the setting, and it has to be perfectly set up. And the only way it can be perfectly set up is if I'm controlling the speed and delay of the tempo. And this is why I came up with this idea to add this on top of the Queen song that we're doing. So Mike comes up with the basic structure, and then everybody just kind of adds to it and puts their input based on his initial ideas.
Oh, cool. And you're also playing some Dream Theater material from the time that Derek and Mike were in the band. But was there any concern regarding the reception of this material, or whether or not you play? And also, Bumblefoot does a great job on the on Lines in the Sand. I mean, I didn't know he could sing so well, to be honest.
Well, the thing is about those songs, I've never been a big Dream Theater fan, and I'm not saying that as a knock to the band. I just wasn't a fan of that style of music. So therefore I don't know any of the material. I know "Pull Me Under" is the only Dream Theater song that I actually ever heard before Lines in the Sand and Just Let Me Breathe. Mm-hmm. So when Mike gave it to us for everybody to learn, I thought, oh boy, there's 2 songs I've never heard, and I now have to make them sound believable and make them sound like I know these songs, like I've sung these songs before. To me, that was the difficult part. Once we actually started playing them live, even the rehearsals, they started sounding like Sons of Apollo's versions of those songs. They didn't sound like we were just trying to sound like Dream Theater. They didn't try to sound like we're trying to remake the songs. It just sounds like us, the way we play, the way I sing, the soul, the kind of method that I use in singing. It just sounded like those songs could now be Sons of Apollo songs, and that's on purpose, because if you're going to do covers in a band like this, it shouldn't try to sound like a tribute band. It should sound like a kind of a newer version of what those songs were.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I have one specific question about the album and about the backing vocals. We couldn't help but notice that Mike's backing vocals on "Coming Home" and "Alive," they are exactly the same. And one question is, was this by accident or on purpose? Did you guys think of that at all, or?
It wasn't until the Alive video came out and somebody mentioned it in one of the comments. I never even realized that the melodies and the ideas of the lyric I'm sorry, the way what Mike is singing is basically the same general idea as Coming Home. I didn't think about it. I didn't hear it when we were doing it. To me, there was a complete separation between the two songs. And now I hear da 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 da, and oh, okay, shit. We kind of ripped ourselves off.
Yeah.
But it was completely unintentional. None of us heard it. None of us even knew that we were doing it. Again, I didn't notice it until I read the comments of a live on YouTube, and somebody said, "Wow, those guys they stole from themselves. You know, the same chorus idea, the same melody."
Yeah,
it's one of those accidents that it just happens to happen.
Yeah. I think it sounds cool in retrospect, you know, but it's a funny thing that people noticed. I didn't notice myself, but other friends pointed that out. But anyway,
I think it would have been less noticeable if we didn't have both those songs as singles.
Yeah.
Because now people are hearing, hey, hang on, two songs that sound the same. Nobody's ever done that in rock and roll, like AC/DC, or I can name a trillion bands who steal from themselves.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And from speaking with Derek last year, like I interviewed him just before the record came out, and he said there were some discussions between you and him regarding the lyrics of some songs, not just a Minotaur thing, but a couple of other instances. Could you tell us what songs were they, and how did you guys resolve those conflicts? Or
well, it wasn't really a conflict. It was mainly the fact that you know exactly what these guys wanted of me as a lyricist, or even as somebody to complete the melodies.
Mm-hmm.
I expected they just wanted me to do what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. But on the other hand, I kept thinking, well, they probably can expect this to sound like Dream Theater meets Mr. Big meets Guns N' Roses. You know, I'm thinking I have to tap into all the backgrounds of where all these guys came from them to be happy. And that was the worst thing I could have done, because I was trying to write lyrics like Dream Theater and just sci-fi proggy kind of lyrics and melodies. And in the beginning, it was completely opposite of what they wanted. It wasn't until once we actually started working together that I realized, oh, I wish you guys would have told me this from the beginning. I would have written melodies and lyrics more like this.
Uh-huh.
And so that was mainly that was the only real dispute, is that I came up with some cool ideas, but some of them were just too proggy and too Dream Theater and too much like other elements of the bands that we come from, not necessarily something that sounded new and sounded like Sons of Apollo.
I see.
And so this is one of the things we did. We just wrote down all my ideas, and then we rewrote things where they needed it, and we just strengthened the other parts that we were going to keep.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that. It was an easy process once I realized what they wanted, and what they didn't even know what they wanted. They were just waiting and hoping to hear it from me without getting involved. And they realized, I think it's better if we do this together, so that way we get the results that will sound like this band.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And you also have other things going on in parallel. You have a new album which came out last November called Retribution. W.E.T will release a new album called Earth Rage later this month. Do you plan to tour in support of this material eventually?
At the moment, I'm not. I don't plan on doing anything else but Sons of Apollo. My focus is on this band. I don't always put out a tour when I release my solo albums, and W.E.T never tours. We've only done a handful of shows since the project's been put together in 2009. So there's no plans to tour with W.E.T, even if I was free. If I was free, I would probably be working on my band Soto, because that to me is more of my priority over my solo career. The solo album, to be honest with you, was something it was under a commitment I needed to fulfill with Frontiers. I owed them another solo record, and I said I would rather do it now and get it out of the way now, because there's too much going on. There's no way I would have time to do it in 2018, and then already they're talking about a new Sons of Apollo album for 2019. So it was better to get Retribution out of the way now, because I had the songs, I had the time to do it, and the timing was perfect.
Oh, cool. And this tour with Sons of Apollo, it'll have a special show in Bulgaria where you guys are going to record a DVD. And is that still going on, the choice of covers by the fans, or?
Yes. We I don't think they've released the whatever, however the format they're going to use to choose the songs, but I'm sure that's going to come out soon. And once we're on the road, once we don't have to think about the show that we're currently doing, where we're kind of in autopilot, that's when we'll start getting the songs sorted of what we're going to do for that live DVD, because clearly we're going to have to rehearse on the road. There's not going to be any time for rehearsals or gatherings in between tours. So it's once we're focused on the show and we don't have to think about it so much, we can actually take the time to work on other things that like this idea that we're doing for the live DVD.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and out of all the other projects or bands that you were a part of, is there any particular one you wish could have lasted longer? And I should just mention this, that a friend of mine, Guzman Santo, actually replaced you in Takara and told me to say hi anyway. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, Talisman was the one band that really personified me as an artist. It was the only one that I lasted longer than every other band I've ever been in, any other project I've ever been in, because musically we tapped into a lot of the genres that I really wanted to do that I couldn't do with other people. Soto, my new band Soto, that is the second closest to something that's truly me, that's truly something I want to do, and I will continue following up with that. But to be honest with you, the only other thing I was disappointed that could have lasted longer, could have had a little more life, was the band Soul Circus. Mm-hmm. That was with Mark Mendoza, Neil Sean, and Virgil Donati. That band to me had a lot of promise, a lot of potential, but unfortunately after 6 weeks of touring, it was a lot of money spent and there wasn't as much interest behind it. So the band basically dissolved and Neil went back to Journey, and the year after that, I joined Journey for a year. So yeah, it's unfortunate that band that never really got to take off. And if I could have seen anything do better or last longer, it would have been that band.
Oh, yeah, that's quite a shame. I actually listened to that album just the other day, and it still sounds great. But yeah,
nice,
yeah,
awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and one more question I have is, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to yourself when you first started in the music business? And actually, that question is even more relevant today because it's the 34th anniversary of Rising Force.
I think somebody got that wrong, actually, unless. I think maybe it was released in March in the U.S. officially, maybe. Because they're saying that the album was released in 1984, but I joined in March of 84. I joined Yngwie in August of 84, so I don't know how could it be released before I did the vocals. So maybe, because I remember originally when I joined Yngwie in August of 84, we did the vocals to those two songs on that album in September of 84. That's crazy. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the album was released in Japan in November of 84. We started working on Marching Out in December, and we recorded the entire Marching Out in January. We mixed it, in 1985 in January. The original idea was that Marching Out was going to come out immediately, and that was going to be the first worldwide album from Yngwie. And then the solo album, the instrumental album, was only going to be released in Japan. But it got nominated for a Grammy, and it was selling on import. Japanese import was selling so well that Polygram decided, hold up, let's release Marching Out later in the year, and let's put this one out. And I think that means officially in the U.S., the first album came out in March of 85. Oh. Yeah. Because it was out at the end of 84 already, and even when we did the touring we started touring in January of 85, the solo album was only out in Japan at that point. Mm. Well, they got it wrong then, but I think they got it wrong based on it being released just in the U.S. I think that was what they meant, but the year is definitely wrong. Yeah. And in March of 84, Yngwie was still in Alcatraz, so there's no way that album was released yet. Yeah. Well, the crazy things of the internet these days, right? But yeah. Well, I saw somebody tweet it today, and I made a little correction, but I don't know if that's gonna fix things. I think people will just continue sharing this misinformation, and who cares? Yeah, fake news, right? Yeah, exactly. But if you could go back then and tell yourself, don't do this, or do more of this, or don't do that, what would it be? Well, if I had to give myself advice back then, I think the first thing I would tell myself is to learn the business. Mm. In every Bible of rock and roll, in every documentary, I don't know how many times you hear it over and over and over. Every single artist talks about how the manager screwed them over, how a record company screwed them over. Nobody knew their rights. Nobody knew what the royalties, how they got paid, what they got paid. All they thought was, I'm getting signed, I'm going to be a big rock star, and my manager and everybody that works for me are going to take care of me. And that's always the biggest misconception about this business. I got screwed. Most people got screwed. Even Yngwie got screwed. I was getting screwed even worse than he was when I was singing with him. But you don't realize that because you put your trust in the people that know the business, and those are the worst ones because they know how to manipulate it. They basically tell you to shut up because they've got it all under control. And to me, that's the worst thing you could do in this business is just to shut up and sit back. It took me about 10 years before I started actually learning the business and realizing some of the really shitty deals that I signed, and all the ways from here to next Sunday I got screwed over. And this is what made me want to learn the business as much as be in the business. From there, I was able to negotiate my own contracts. I was able to understand the contracts, what everything meant, and all the little details that are involved. And to me, that's the first thing I tell any new musician. I say, learn the business because you're going to need this information later.
Yeah, good point, man. Good point. Okay, so that was the end of my questions. And thanks again for your patience. And Sons of Apollo will play here in Toronto on April 20. And actually, it's Mike's birthday. So I hope we can catch up again.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, man. We'll see you then.
Okay, see you then. Take it.
Okay, bye-bye.